order, I just read.
Yes.
Sex Offense Treatment Board meeting is convening at 9:04 a.m. on May 10th, 2024. This meeting is being held in person and by MS Teams video conference and is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. The Health Licensing Office asks that individuals attending through MS Teams keep your phone muted and cameras off during the entire meeting until you are given the opportunity to comment during the public and interested parties feedback period, if indicated on the agenda. Please do not use the chat feature during meetings. I will now call roll. Scott Elmore.
Present.
Kelly Crane. Robbie English.
Present.
John Thomas.
Present.
Devin Vaughn, present. Shannon Rose.
Present.
Karen Ledoux.
Present.
Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Board members are asked to not use the chat feature during meetings. Public members wishing to speak must first sign in on the roster sheet available. For public members on MS Teams, please email Carrie Edwards at carrie.edwards@oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public/interested parties feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Bothwell. I'm currently the interim chair here at the Health Licensing Office. Chair, if I may, would like to amend the agenda, the number 2, before we do approval of the agenda, is to add Nathan Goldberg giving us a real quick overview of the new meeting system. Yes. And is everybody online able to hear us?
Yes.
So then we can do approval of these with the amendment. So we need someone to make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment. I'll make a motion. And okay, so Scott made the motion and John Thomas seconded. So during the meeting, if you want to speak, please say your name.
Scott Elmore. I'll make the motion.
John Thomas, I'll second. Very good. And now we need a roll call.
So I'll now call roll. Scott Elmore.
Present. Aye.
Kelly Crane.
Until she shows up.
Robbie English. John Thomas. Aye. Devin Vaughn. Aye. Shannon Rose.
Aye.
Karen Ledoux.
Aye.
Passes. Nathan.
My name is Nathan Goldberg. I'm the nerd today. We have a new system. You're guinea pigs. So thank you. The new system is a smart room system. The camera on the right you'll see is an AI camera. It'll learn as it goes along. You'll see it jump around a little bit for a while until it kind of gets to know your face. And after a couple of minutes, as soon as you start talking, it should pick up you and focus in on you. But you notice it'll jump around for a minute or two till it figures things out. The system, the thing on the upper left, just for future reference, if you need to know, is our hearing assist system. We do have things that'll go over your ear if anybody's deaf or hard of hearing. So there's that available. We control it from the back. The microphones are up on the ceiling, as you can see, and there's 4 microphones, 6 speakers. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Just, yeah, like I said before, make sure you're speaking in a normal tone. You don't have to yell, but don't whisper. Just state your name and it should work fine. Cool. Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay. Chair, members of the board, the next item on the agenda are introductions. So the new board member, Karen Ledoux. Karen, if you want to bring yourself on camera, please, and introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Karen Ledoux, and I currently work for Washington County Community Corrections as the division manager for parole and probation. And this is my first meeting.
First
Thank
talk to Ann this morning. So if we can start with, Robbie, introduce yourself, please.
Name is Robbie English, and I am the director of the juvenile department at River County. And my position is representing JPD.
Hi, my name is Devin Vaughn, and I am Director at Higher Ground Counseling. And I am representing the board seat by the OSUN board.
Hi, my name is Scott Elmore. I own the Mental Health Salem. I'm also the president of Oregon Hanson.
I am John Thomas. As of April 1st, I am the sex offense treatment coordinator for the Oregon Youth Authority. And my seat, I represent OATSA as their board, and I am their board secretary.
And, Carrie, you want to say hi?
Carrie Edwards, I'm currently filling in for the board specialist, but I'm usually the qualification specialist, so anything to do with education for our boards. So you guys get emails from me all the time.
I'm Ann Thompson. I've been health licensing office over 10 years now. And I'm the policy analyst for this board, as well as 7 other boards and 5 of the programs here at licensing.
I introduced myself earlier. We will move up to the screen. We have Shannon.
Hi, Shannon Rose. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the executive director at the Oregon Sexual Assault Task Force. I am representing the victim services seat on the board.
Heather.
Good morning. My name is Heather Vogelsong. I'm an attorney with the Oregon Department of Justice. I've been with the department since about 2005 and helping HLO and its various boards and programs since about 2015. So welcome to the new member.
And Joanna.
Good morning. I'm Joanna Tucker Davis. I'm also an assistant attorney general at the Oregon Department of Justice.
Next item on the agenda is reports. So we'll start with the director's report. I do not have it up in front of me on my screen, so I'm not going to be able to tell you what slide it is. But what this report basically does is advises the board of all the board members standing on the board as far as terms. So I'll just go down it real quick. But if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to speak up. So Devin Vaughn is the chair, first term, and expires October 26, 2027. And Devin can reappoint. John Thomas, also first term, which expires July 26, 2026, and can reappoint. Kelly Crane is in their second term, and it expired April 18 of 2024. She cannot reappoint, and I believe we're waiting for an appointment from OATSA to replace her. So sorry. Scott Elmore was first term, which expires August 26, 2027, and can reappoint. Robbie English is in a first term, expires July 31, 2027, and can reappoint. Shannon Rose is first term as well, and August 31, 2027 is when that term expires and can reappoint. Karen Ledoux is in her first term, and it expires 12/19 of 2027, and Karen can reappoint. So it looks like we have a very fresh new board. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to spend some mornings with us throughout the year. The next slide are licenses issued for sex offense therapists, and it's broke out by years and quarters. And so I'll speak for 2024, and in quarter 4 we haven't had any sex offense therapists, or clinical licenses issued. In quarter 3 we had 1, and quarter 2 we had 2. The next slide is certified associate sex offense therapist, and in fiscal year 2024, in quarter 2 we had one license issued and no license issued in the other 3 quarters. And we're still pretty new in quarter 4, so I would expect that decline as we move on. The next slide is a certified secondary clinical sexual offense therapist. In 2024, quarter 1, we had 1 issued, 2 issued in quarter 2, and 3 issued in quarter 3. And if the theme continues, we may have 4 in quarter 4. But right now we have 0. Certified sexual offense therapist interns. Quarter 1, we've had 4. Quarter 2, we issued 3, and quarter 3, we issued 2, and none yet in quarter 4. Licenses renewed. Looks like a good portion of them are done online and on paper, but our goal is to try to get everybody to renew on. So total in fiscal year 2024 thus far, we've had 51 licenses renewed. So for certified associate sex offense therapists, we have had a total of 16 renew, and vast majority, with the exception of a couple, are online. Certified secondary clinical sex offense therapists, about even between online and paper, 1 apiece in each of the quarters. Certified sexual offense therapist intern in fiscal year 2023, all 3 of them have done it online. Licenses by age and gender. Those that identify as female is the majority, but that can change anytime because the spread is not that big. Licensing trends is the next slide, and that has its ebbs and flows. And in quarter 4, we're at, I'm sorry, let me back up. For certified clinical sexual offense therapists, there's currently 65, but we're in quarter 4, and I would expect that might climb back up to 71 as we go through the fiscal year. Certified.
Can I ask a question, Scott? This is how many 65 or how many are currently licensed in the state?
Average.
Average. Thank you.
Certified associate sexual offense therapists, we're at 20 for an average in quarter 4. And again, I would expect that to climb back up to the 26, if not even higher. Certified secondary clinical sexual offense therapists, we're at 14. And again, that may go up. Certified sex offense therapist interns, we are currently at 16, and it appears to be an upward flow. That's an average of 16. Any questions on membership thus far?
The Shannon question. Are the certification standards?
Question, Devin Vaughn. This isn't necessarily about the numbers, but do you have any sense of like how long it's taking when someone turns in an application to when they're finally approved? And that's probably.
I don't know if you can hear me. Michael Brennan is our licensing specialist, but we've had some turnover, so he's been doing it a month. And so it probably it's hard to tell. But as we go on and throughout the year and at the next meeting, we can answer that question for you. All right, moving on. The next slide is a count of practitioners in each county. However, this is not the county that they work in. This is of their address from their application. So if they put their work address as their physical address, then that's where we're at. But chances are it is likely their residential address. So in the outlying counties, someone could be in Harney County doing work throughout the state.
Can I take one?
Yes.
This is Ann Thompson. I'd like to ask the new board, because 2 boards ago, the request was to provide how many providers were in each county. And then when they learned that it was their mailing address and not where they worked, we were never really happy with that. But we've continued to do it. We used to put it in a map, but there was a glitch with Excel with the map function isn't working very well. Is this something that this current board finds valuable, or is this something we can let go?
Scott Elmore. My first instinct when you were saying that this is their home address, it does not seem helpful to me. Their practice address would seem much more helpful. That would be my response to that.
John Thomas, and I would agree. As an LCSW, my license has both locations listed as both my home mailing address / mailing address and my practice location.
Devin Vaughn, I would even say, if it's possible, is there a way that you can ask SOTB certified providers where they practice, like in different counties?
Right. We have answered this to certain board members over and over and over again over the last 4 or 5 years. And we, as I mentioned in my training to Ms. Ledoux, that we can only collect the information that we are statutorily allowed to collect. So we cannot ask that question. Even if it makes sense, we're allowed to, collect name, social security number, or tax ID number, residential address, but we can't ask that. So with that being said, is this something that we can just drop off the reports?
Scott Elmore again. I would.
Yeah, I would agree. John Thomas, I would agree with that because at this point it's unhelpful.
This is Shannon Rose. I guess I'm feeling like in lieu of being able to ask where they practice, this is at least getting us some information to be able to look at rural versus urban areas of the state and where folks may be. So I guess I'm finding it somewhat helpful, though certainly not ideal. I'd rather have their practice information.
Anybody else?
Devin Vaughn, I would agree with Shannon. I think there's some usefulness to it. I agree with exactly what she said. It would be helpful if we knew where people were practicing, but I think in lieu of that, knowing where people are located at least gives us some sense of, urban versus rural.
Okay, so we have 2 and 2. Do we have a tiebreaker?
John Thomas, I'll move mine to support Devin.
Okay, fine. We can keep it. It's no problem. I just, sometimes we accrete things. We bring something to the board. Let the record stand that Kelly Crane joined us at 9:22. We bring something that a board member has an interest in and we just keep doing it. But we don't often look in the rearview mirror and say, is this still valid? Is it still useful? Or do we need to do something else? So thank you very much.
Morning, Kelly.
Good morning. Sorry, I had a flat tire.
Oh, here. Welcome. All right, so we're on the director's report. And I'm looking at the fiscal and at not the last meeting, but
Yes.
it wasn't the last meeting? Okay. I believe the chair wanted a better breakdown, so that'll be on the next slide, but it currently, as it stands, in this fiscal year, which began July 1 of 2023, we have a beginning cash balance for this board of $5,536, $27,681 in revenue, expenditures, about approximately $19,395 with a net operation of $8,286, with ending cash balance of $13,822. And it's safe to say that the board's heading in the right direction as far as the balance on the books. The next slide is a little more granular. And this was last run April 1 of this year. And Chair, I think it was you who requested a better breakdown.
No, it's Scott.
Oh, Scott? Okay. Got it. Is this,
Sorry, Scott, that was, I was just reviewing the financials. That was much more helpful. Thank you.
so, what my recommendation would be to provide this to you, once a year. Because, it may or may not change, but, this gives you an idea of, in a more granular, but not in the microscopic granular, which is 3,000 lines approximately of data. But it tells you where, your money's coming from and where it's going.
Again, Scott, don't worry. I like the P&L aspect of this, so this looked very good. I appreciate this.
So is this this was kind of a one-off, because the report that Bob described earlier was kind of more of what boards get with all the little, well, this month you had more DOJ and that month, is this something that this is a one-off, or is this something you want to see on the regular, or the more granular breakdown? Or is this, were you just kind of wondering what it looked like?
Yeah, my initial question, coming into the board was where the money had been and where we got our financials from. So this was helpful and I was just sort of digesting this. So this is helpful.
Okay, is this something you need to see going forward? Okay.
No,
Okay.
This sheet.
Great, so now you kind of understand what's going on behind it, so we're
Yeah.
good. And in the future, instead of like once, we don't have to think about it, in the future, if you have more questions, but really, I mean, the standard, based on the services you use, the licenses you have, and of course, the DOJ costs,
Yeah.
those are not shared among boards. If you ask for legal advice, you guys pay for it.
Sure.
So, okay, great.
No, I
So,
appreciate this. Thank
no,
you.
you're so welcome. I'm glad that we could get you what you wanted without having to give you a 3,000 line spreadsheet.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Next slide on that we have is the regulatory report and our regulatory operations manager, Travis Scott. That joined us.
Oh, hello, everybody. I'm Trampashek, the interim regulatory manager for Health Licensing Office. So I am here to talk about the regular report and any other regulatory issues that that come up for questions. What you're seeing here on this regulatory report, there are 3 bienniums still on this report. There's kind of one older case that's still kind of clinging on there. That particular biennium, we actually had 17 cases come in for this board, which is a lot for this board for some reason. I'm not sure what that bump was for, but looks like our trend is back to, 7 is probably more normal. And we're only partway through this biennium. We've only had 2 come in. So it has been a little bit slower this biennium. So you can see that the bottom number represents the final bottom number represents the number that have come in for that entire biennium. And then the top total is how many are still open. And then the bottom, then the one right there shows closed and kind of separates them by category of licensee. So I think we have a few newer board members, so I should probably just give just a brief overview of what these all mean. Seems like open and closed means open and closed, but open can mean it's actually being currently investigated. It can mean that it has been completed and is just in the review process. It could mean that it's waiting to come to the board for a review. It can mean the board has already reviewed it and it's going. We haven't sent out the disciplinary notice at that point yet. So, once it's reviewed by me and closed, reviewed by the board or closed, or if the board decides to take some disciplinary action, it gets closed when we send out that notice. And then there's some stuff that can happen after that, but that's what you'll see on this report. That's what this particular case is not in any of those other phases. It's just not quite done being investigated. So So that's kind of what that means. On the other side, you see complaints by type. You got licensing concerns, services provided. Those are the main two that you're going to see with this board. Licensing concern would be pretty much any type of situation where somebody was working with an inactive license or no license or expired license or something like that. If you get a complaint that somebody's providing services and they don't have a license, that would fall under here. Somebody's providing services and they let their license lapse for a period of time. Somebody complains, that would fall under that. Services provided are going to be kind of it's kind of pretty self-explanatory, but it's going to be anything that has to do with practice standards or anything like that. So if somebody complains that they weren't, that they had a client or a client complains, or if somebody else complains that says, hey, I heard about this situation and this person didn't appear to be acting probably in a proper way or within their practice standards, that would fall under that. So you can see it on the other side, complaints by type. You have no anonymous complaints, which is probably not unusual for a board where it's complaining too much. Clients, pretty self-explanatory again. Other is the bigger group. It's just somebody else reporting it. That's not the client. That has said who they are, but they're not the client. So, but that's the regulatory report in general. If anybody has any questions about this report, anything else regarding regulatory or investigations or like that?
John Thomas, what fiscal calendar is this on, since you've already received two late in 2025?
2025. So 2025 is we're in the middle of it. So they go from
For
biennium. They're the full biennium. So it's a 2-year period.
And the state, it's mentioned in some of our fiscal reports, but the state year is the calendar year. It's July 1st.
Yes.
Through June 30th. So even though we're not in 2025 yet, we're there.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.
Now that you say that, I noticed that it's all about numbers, so I should have figured that out.
We're not quite halfway through the current biennium. So like I said, we've only had 2 good ones. But we could have 10 come in next month.
Scott, no more. Perhaps the information is right in front of me. I haven't solved it yet, but the 7 in 2023, we closed those. Or at least
Oh, yeah. So if you're looking at that, so there's 2 sections here on this. The first one, this is open. There are 2 still open from that biennium. And 5 of that 7 that came in were closed.
They gone before we're dealt with them.
Some of them they have. So there are some that close, if they're unfounded, meaning they're not substantiated and they're not, there's no real controversy at the heart of it. Then they may not come to the board. Usually, a lot of times though, they will come to the board, even if they're not substantiated, for the board to look at and say, yes, we agree. This is closed. If they have any kind of violation that is being alleged, or anything like that, then they always come to the board for the board to look at, weigh in, say, yes, this is a violation. No, we don't agree. Yes, it is. We agree. This is what we think we should do about it. And we've had a few of those over the last couple of years, several.
Okay, so so I understand there's a determining factor somewhere along the line that maybe a complaint is closed before it gets to the board or dealt with.
It's a pretty, with this group, it's a pretty black and white situation where we wouldn't bring it. I mean, it would almost be a jurisdictional issue.
Okay.
Because we don't currently have any, some boards we have subject matter experts for, which allow us to be able to triage a little bit better or get advice from somebody that's an expert in the field. Right now, we don't have a subject matter expert in this group, so we are more likely just to err on the side of just bringing it to the board to look at, to make sure that we're looking at it through the lens of experts.
So John Thomas, so Travis, are you saying that regulatory or that if a complaint comes in, that it would be better dealt with by, like, say, LPC or LCSW board? And like, as far as disciplinary or scope of practice?
It depends on the situation. Sometimes there's two investigations that are going on at the same time because this license requires you to have another license as well. A violation of practice standards on this license is often also a violation of a practice standard on the other license. So sometimes when you're talking about particularly client-based type of complaints or client-based potential violations, a lot of times the other board will do their investigation first, and then we'll get it from them. Less often, we'll do our investigation and it'll go that way. Usually it comes this way, but sometimes they happen at the same time. And our investigators who are working with them will often, if they know that there's another investigation, where we send it to them or they send it to us, they will work with that other, well, not work with the other board, but keep apprised of where they are in that process with the other investigators. Sometimes we just wait, put it aside and wait. Okay, we're going to wait until they get done with their process, go through the entire process, which can sometimes take a little while. Because if the other board has a finding and it has to go to the board and then they issue some kind of disciplinary notice, then they have contested case rights on that end of it. And if they're going through the hearing process, that could take a long time. And then once they get done with that process, our violations might be kind of hinging on their violations. So, or the outcome of that other license. So that's why sometimes ours can sit open. And that's one reason they could sit open. And we'll just wait and try to be patient.
Got to step on. Do all the people, if there's a complaint filed against someone, are they made aware of that? Is every person made aware of that at the beginning?
Well,
Is
they
that
have
part-
an investigation of it?
Right.
There is a point where we do make the person aware. Typically, we have to make them aware at some point. So if the complaint comes in, if we don't typically we don't shoot out a notice right away in the process. I mean, that can happen. Typically, that first notice that goes out, might be a records request or something like that. And then we take that opportunity to say, hey, you're under investigation and we want your records for this situation. And it all happens. That usually happens right up on the front end. Because the process that we go through is we're going to, if the complainant, we'll usually talk to the complainant, we'll do all of our interviews on that kind of side, just to make sure we understand the complaint fully, especially if it's a complicated complaint. I talked to a few of those people on that side, and we start gathering information, gathering records, getting records from all the various sources. And then, but at that point, we start asking for records. The person gets notified of the investigation. Then also, we have statutes that say we have to not only tell you are under investigation, but what the nature of the complaint is, or the types of documents we've gathered. There's kind of a list of stuff before you have to make an appearance before the office. Tend to keep that as, try to be as open about the process as possible. We're not trying to be sneaky or get anybody on a gotcha, we're professional people and says through.
And this is Bob, Chair, members of the board. Just a FYI, we are working on a contract right now with Kelly Cominke for a subject matter expert. So yeah, so we will have one on board, but that doesn't mean that the cases wouldn't come to you. A lot of times it is their opinion and our opinion, and it may or may not mesh. We'll bring it to the board. We'll bring it to the board regardless, so that you're attuned as to what's going on out in the community, what complaints are.
Having a subject matter expert just makes it so, the board doesn't have to pour through all of the, Doesn't have to, you can, of course, but it doesn't have to pour through all of the details and you can get a better, you can get pitched a little bit nicer. It also gives us a little bit of direction throughout the investigation. Experts, we don't know what to ask now. We know what records we do or, we don't have that we haven't gotten before. It really does kind of help that investigation and actually focuses it and usually makes it less time for us. So it's kind of a
Any questions from folks that are online? Being none.
No, thank you.
Chair, members of the board, Bob, we are going to go into executive session. So you should have a script. You've got the other recording going.